But could a relationship break save your marriage? It's a big, intense debate, really, isn't it?
It is, and I'm going to be very black and white about this.
Yep.
I am very lucky to be financially independent. That's because my mum and dad taught me to be, always have your own money. So when I have those little up and down moments, I just turn around to my husband and say, right, I'm going away with the girls for a week. And he says, all right. And I say, see you later. And that's what happens in our marriage. And, you know, he goes on boys' weekends away and weeks away. And I've been married for 13 years, and I think part of the reason...
They've spent a year together.
And I think part of the reason that we don't have such extreme, I'm going away for a year, I'm having a sabbatical, is because we actually have that time built within our marriage. But as I said, I'm very lucky because I work and I have that time and that money to be able to do that. I don't get this, I'm going to go away for a year. I think my husband and I would know if things are wrong, and we would actually then start to address that. I don't know if in my head that I'm going away for a year and then I'll come back if I think it's going to work. I don't get that.
But
I'm old-fashioned.
To be fair, it does work for a lot of people, because I think sometimes, you know, if you've come to a bit of a rut along the way, sometimes you have to be apart to appreciate actually what you've got. Because sometimes you're not appreciating each other, you're taking each other for granted, you're thinking the grass is greener on the other side, and actually having that time apart makes you go, do you know what, I do want to be with that person. And then at least when you go back, you know it's because you want to be, and not because you feel you have to be or you need to be. It's because you want to be, and that's a nice feeling. So I do think it works for a lot of people.
Don't you think also that there's an element where people sort of think you're going to miss me when I'm gone, or you hope that that's what it's going to be?
It's always dodgy.
You know, but I don't know about this particular lady, but I mean, none of us particularly could go off. Well, you probably could, but you can't go off to Ibiza for 6 months because you've got children and school runs and stuff like that. But I'm very like you, where I do lots of stuff separate to my husband, and he does lots of stuff. I don't think you have to do everything together all of the time. If it works for you, fine. But I actually think a little bit of absence does make the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
And I mean, my suspicion, I suppose, I would be a little bit, if someone said to me, I want a break, I'd think, why? What are you up to? Who's waiting in the wings, you know?
Exactly. Well, there would need to be boundaries, wouldn't there? Because you've both got to be on exactly the same page. Because, like, if one goes off thinking, well, we're on a break, so that means I can do what I want for 6 months or whatever. That's not going to work in a million years, is it? When the other person is thinking, well, this is a break to clear my mind and blah, blah, blah.
I think sweeping generalisation as well. It's like this, the genders react differently. I mean, I've only got daughters, but, you know, if they're on a break, it's all they sit around with their mates and they sort of contemplate and discuss it endlessly about where did it go wrong and might it go back on track. And, you know, you were talking earlier about your sons.
Sorry, lads. Well, sons, it's very different because they go on a break and they go on a break.
What does that mean?
Then I come back and go, how could you do that within 24 hours? And they go, we're on a break.
Yeah.
So they don't feel guilty.
Yeah. So men and women do it very differently, don't they?
Yeah, I think so.
But is a break better than a divorce? I mean, obviously, you kind of have to wait.
Well, that's the thing,
you know,
it's
kind of...
Well, here's the thing. I think as well, it's great to have your own personal hobbies, outside interests, all of that. But I think it can also happen where all of a sudden you've got your life, they've got their life, you've got a set of friends, they've got a set of friends, then your kids are grown up, they move out, and all of a sudden you have got time together, and then but you haven't thought about hobbies together or interests together. And I think sometimes that can be a little bit.
If I'm sort of the flip side of all of this, because my entire relationship has seen Frank head off for 6 weeks with football and every single weekend away, midweek, at least 2 to 3 nights of the week, not at home. And now, since the retirement at the grand old age of 38, he's at home all of the time. So we're making that transition the other way around, oddly enough, because I've had these sabbaticals, as they were called, without even sort of asking for them. Yeah. So I'm now getting used to not having
there all the time.
And how's that working out?
So far, so good. It's early days, you know. Ask me in a few months' time. Same for him, maybe, But this lady that wrote the article, funny enough, she ended it by saying, beyond the conventions of marriage, it was an opportunity for us to choose to be together again forever. Yeah. So it can work, obviously, for some people. Wouldn't necessarily work for me or you.
No, it wouldn't work for me.
And also, what would you be like? I mean, if you were in any way have a jealous mind when they were, I mean, how would you stop? Especially 8 months is a long time, I think. I mean, how would you cope with that?
In Ibiza as well? In Ibiza?
Exactly.
Come on.